There are a few things which I hope I have figured out by the time I'm 30, and maybe you hope you have figured out too. For a lot of people, I feel like it's really easy to write down a 5-year goal list or a 10-year life plan of how you want to get married and start a business and have this much in savings and travel to this country and go on this dream destination. But for me, a lot of my genuine 5-year goals or 10-year goals are to break some recurring patterns, which I'm going to talk about today. To some extent, I feel like certain goals, like to get married by the time I'm 30 or to get this career by the time I'm 30, is a little bit easier than to say break the cycle of prioritizing everyone else over prioritizing myself, or breaking the cycle of self-sabotaging when it comes to certain friendships and relationships. There's a certain steps you can take to getting your dream life or getting your dream car, your dream career, your dream business, but there's not quite certain steps you need to take to break recurring patterns, which is why I thought it'd be interesting in this video to break down some of the most common tough recurring patterns that young people have and struggle to break. And I'm going to talk about how I'm hopefully going to work on these over the next few years by the time I'm 30 as well. Hey, if you're new, I'm Christina and I make videos for people who are feeling lonely. If you're a people pleaser, overachiever, overthinker, over anything, you're in the right place. I'm a very big believer that you never have to have anything figured out by any time. Especially as a woman, I feel like there is a certain pressure on like the marriage, the kids, the relationship to be figured out by 30, but I'm such a big believer in like you never know when the right time is. You don't have to have your career in place by the time you're 30. You don't have to have a secure, solid relationship by the time you're 30. You don't have to have moved out of your parents' house by the time you're 30. You don't have to have done anything by the time you're 30. I'm 23, so in 7 years, I'll be 30. So I thought it'd be interesting to talk about 7 things I want to have figured out by the time I'm 30. This isn't by no means everyone else has to have figured out. I just really hope I'm not doing these toxic recurring patterns anymore. If I can have them figured out before 30, amazing. If it takes me after 30, also amazing. There's no rush with this, but I know 30 is a really big number for a lot of people to have like their whole lives figured out. Like everyone wants to have their career solid, savings are solid, they own a house, their marriage is solid, their relationships are solid. So I thought 30 would probably be a good number to put on this video. The first recurring pattern that is really tough to break, which hopefully a lot of us, including myself, will break by the time I'm 30, is how to put yourself first and not feel bad, even if it means disappointing people. Part of me thinks Gen Z really is a generation full of a lot of people pleasers. And I don't mean that in a bad way at all, because this was literally me for the longest time. There's something about our generation where we feel like we always have to help and we always have to be available. I do apologize for this lighting. Like there's nowhere where I can sit where it won't be like on me somewhere. It totally depends on your situation. For example, if you're sort of like stereotypical eldest daughter from an immigrant family who's come over to the UK or come over to the US, the parents have sacrificed everything, you're technically the third parent. And you help raise your siblings, you raise yourself. You have so much responsibility at such a young age. You low-key don't have a childhood because you're busy like being a parent. Your whole life, you don't even realize it, but your whole childhood, your whole teenage life, maybe your early 20s, you've never put yourself first. You put everyone else before you. You put your siblings before you, your parents before you, your family before you. So then I think when you enter the world of work and you're finally kind of like in charge of your own life for once, and you've got control over where your time goes, where your energy goes, it's really, really strange to say no to other people and say yes to yourself. Chances are you're one of those people that's like very self-sufficient and very independent. Like you don't need help. Like you literally never ask for help because you don't need it. But then without realizing, you probably end up juggling a lot of things and you become overwhelmed. Not easily. You don't get overwhelmed easily because you can handle a lot. You've been through a lot. But then when things do eventually get overwhelming, pile and pile, it becomes really hard to say no to certain things at work, or to cancel plans with friends, to say, oh, I kind of need to leave early. Like I don't really want to spend the last 2 hours here. Like it becomes really, really tough to do things for you because you've never like had the chance to do that. I had this problem really bad a few years ago. And for me, it mainly showed up in my friendships is where I saw the problem arise, where like I'd have like friction, I'll say with friends, like things weren't communicated very well and there was just a bit of a clash, and it wasn't a huge thing, but because I was so scared to say something and potentially offend this person or upset this person by saying like, I didn't like what you'd said there. Like, I wish you didn't say that, or I wish you said it in a nicer way. I kept my mouth shut and I ended up resenting the person. And then it became this like little chip on my shoulder that I'd always carry around in the friendship. They would think things were fine. They would think nothing's going on. Christina's totally fine. We're happy, good, we're dandy. Like things are all good vibes. But really like I had stuff on my chest I wish I could get off. And up until that point, I had not learned the skill of how to put myself first and not feel bad. It doesn't mean being dramatic about it, like being super selfish and only ever doing things for you and putting yourself first in every aspect of life. It's not like that. It literally means sometimes Can you open up and tell someone how you feel if it might offend them? Can you cancel plans if it means disappointing someone? Can you ask for help for something that technically you could do on your own, but you're so drained and you would really appreciate some help right now? Putting yourself first is a skill that I think not a lot of us know how to do. Again, it depends on your situation, because maybe you can put yourself first and you don't feel bad about it, but I feel like a lot of us enter our mid 20s, late 20s. We don't even realize, but we're living life for other people and not for ourselves. I hope by the time I'm 30, or even sooner than that, I could be put in a situation, feel a bit of imposter syndrome, not feel like I fully belong there. It's an amazing opportunity or amazing person, amazing job. And I might feel uncomfortable because it's so new and it's so amazing. I don't feel like I've earned it yet. But I'd like to think I'm not going to be the sort of person to self-sabotage and ruin the situation. You see this a lot in people's relationships where things are finally going well. And I think for some people, like friends that I've spoken to in the past, sometimes things are going so well for them that it's strange. Like they're so used to toxic boys or toxic guys in a relationship, toxic communication, like the breadcrumbing thing where they'll give you, like they'll only say enough to keep you interested, but then they're actually never fully interested. And talking to friends, sometimes when things are finally going well, they physically can't cope. And it's so strange that they end up just like self-sabotaging or doing something to ruin the relationship. As someone in your 20s, this is very like, okay, fair enough. You're 22 or you're 23, or you're 24, you're 25. Fair enough. But hopefully by the time I'm 30, and a lot of my friends are 30, feeling uncomfortable by something going so well won't be so frightening that we feel like we have to ruin it. It could happen in your place of work where your boss has some sort of project that if you do this project well, then there's an opportunity for a promotion. But because you don't even think that you'll do the project well, you don't even volunteer for it. So you're self-sabotaging in the sense that you don't even put yourself in the right situations for new opportunities to come your way. Another thing I hope I have down to a T by the time I'm 30 is how to comfortably share good news. Give this video a thumbs up. I'm genuinely curious if you've ever had good news, but you're a little bit hesitant to tell someone because you feel like you're going to be bragging. Like the news isn't out of this world, amazing, crazy, mind-blowing news, but it's like some really good news for you. It's, I don't know, a new job, or you've got a new car, or you've got a new thing, you earned a new thing, I don't know, you achieved a new thing, you won a championship, or something super important to you. It's not winning the Super Bowl, but it's just important to you. I've had this a couple times where things happen and I'm like, I'm super proud of myself, but then I'm like, I feel bad. Like I feel bad telling someone, or I feel bad telling a friend that maybe like can't relate to what I've done. Like, for example, with my YouTube, hitting 50K. Oh my God, what an achievement. Like I literally was bouncing up and down in my kitchen when I refreshed and it hit 50,000. But like to tell a friend that doesn't have a YouTube channel, that doesn't do social media, I feel like I'm bragging if I tell them that. And it feels a bit tough to like comfortably share good news. Another pattern that I know a lot of young people struggle to break/learn is remembering that the journey matters more than the destination. This is one of those cringy quotes that you see on Instagram and you literally roll your eyes at and quickly swipe to the next story because it's like you've heard it a million times. I think it's quite ingrained in our culture to see positive things and achievements like a career or an engagement, getting married, having a baby shower, all these things that you see on Instagram. We're so ingrained to see it as like an event or a destination, or like one moment in time, like something that just happened quickly, like an overnight success sort of thing. You never ever see the process of things. You never ever see the build up. You never see like the slow and steady rise to get to that point. And because of that, it makes you think on your journey of whatever you're doing, whether it's like your career, your studies, like the slow and steady journey that you're going on, it makes you think that there's something wrong with it, or you're going slower than you should. Like I can't count the amount of times in med school where I'd be struggling with exams and I'd literally be so frustrated at my desk because I'm struggling to wrap my head around a concept or like a new thing in anatomy. Like I'm struggling to learn it and I'm finding it really tough. And I can't help but think like, is there something wrong with me? Like, am I actually the stupid one? Like, why is this so tough? I hear about other people scoring like 85%, 90% on their exams. And I'm just, how are you getting these scores? And I'm struggling to understand this one thing. And it's literally because you never ever see the struggles and the journey that people go on. You only ever see their destination. I was reading about this in a book recently. The author it was essentially like a business book about how to build a business. And he was talking about how people see like the wealth of a business as an event. Like, oh, this 18-year-old builds an app in his basement and it sells for $1 billion. And you see it as an article online, or you see it on Twitter as a thread, and it's like an event. Or with celebrities, you'll see like, oh, Sabrina Carpenter sells out her latest tour in seconds. And it's like, it seems like an event. When actually, when you know the backstory of the 18-year-old building in his basement, that could have taken him 5 or 10 years. Or if you know the backstory of Sabrina Carpenter, you know she's been grinding for literally years. In the book, he always talks about how building a business is a process. It's not an event. Or wealth in itself is a process. It's not an event. It's not something that like you can snap your fingers and it happens tomorrow, or even it happens in a year. Good things really do take time. And I think with social media, that's become something people think that there's like a cheat code for. Like, oh, good things take time. Oh yeah, sure, but like not for me. Like I'll find a shortcut. And that when I think back to med school, that was me sometimes. I was going through the good things take time. Like you have to just grind and go over this textbook numerous times, understand the concept, watch videos if you have to, like put in the work, and then you will understand. But I was thinking there must be a quicker way. It seems so easy for her. It seems so easy for him. Surely I can shortcut this. And I think a lot of people in their 20s might kind of have a shortcut approach to some relationships and some aspects of their work and career, not by any fault of their own, but just because of social media. Social media is full of events. It's full of pretty pictures of the road trip and like where they ended up on the road trip, but it's no like them filling up the gas on the road trip, them having a flat tire, them being stuck on the side of the highway on the road trip. Do you know what I mean? Another thing a lot of young people struggle with is detaching rejection from your self-worth. I think every generation before us, Gen Z, Gen X, the boomers, millennials, all of the above, have struggled to face a rejection in any area of your life and truly detach it from meaning anything about you. Half of the battle with making mistakes in life, honestly, or getting things wrong, or feeling like you messed up again, isn't the fact that you actually messed up. It's just the fact that you feel like you're not good enough, or you feel like you're not smart enough, or you're not pretty enough, or you're not trying hard enough, you're not working hard enough. Like it's just, you feel like you're not enough. Mistakes and rejections and getting things wrong and messing up is so closely tied with your self-worth sometimes, when a large part of your self-perception and how you see yourself is wrapped up in what you do. I saw myself, honestly, in med school, like I am a medical student. Like that is who I was. Okay, sure, I make videos on the side, sure, I post TikToks here and there, but like I'm a medical student. That was who I was. I didn't see myself as like Christina with hobbies, Christina who likes to do yoga sometimes and go for walks sometimes and see friends sometimes and go to the cinema. Like I felt like I was actually quite one-dimensional, and I saw myself as one-dimensional. So then when my one-dimensional world wasn't going to plan and I got a rejection or I messed up on something, it would like really knock my confidence. And I find that now, as I'm like, that was probably like 3 years ago now, like now that I'm someone who's graduated and I have more of a diversified identity, I don't see myself as a 1D like sim character that only does one thing. Each time now I mess up on, say, like a video, or I go to work and I mess up on something, it doesn't knock my confidence like it would have before. You have to establish, have I made my whole identity and my whole life and my whole personality trait just one small thing? Another thing young people struggle with these days, I certainly have struggled with, is being able to be vulnerable without overthinking it. The thing about a lot of social media trends now, where I'm seeing a lot of videos and podcasts pop up on like things to never tell people, things you should never share to anyone else, like how to protect your space and protect your energy. I'm seeing a lot of like how to go monk mode, how to go all in. I'm seeing a lot of videos on like, you know, focus on yourself, go ghost and reinvent yourself in 6 months. I'm seeing a lot of videos like that. I'm not saying these videos are bad, because I think there's probably so much amazing advice in them. But what I've learned as someone who's been a very, very lonely person in like my early 20s and late teens before, where I felt I'm going to university, I'm going to college, but like I feel like no one knows me, and I feel like I'm alone in a huge room full of people, but like I'm literally on my own. As someone who's like experienced like such severe loneliness, I feel like it happens when you're afraid of opening up to people. The loneliest people, I personally think, are people that have people in their lives that they speak to regularly. They have classmates, they have colleagues, they have neighbours, you know, they live somewhere. The loneliest people do speak to people and have people in their lives, but they feel like no one knows them. And the problem I have with a lot of these videos that tell you to like isolate yourself and go ghost and like the videos that kind of fearmonger in a way, how to protect yourself from people and how to like things you should never ever tell people. I feel like it's low-key giving the message that you need to be a bit more pessimistic about people and not optimistic. I know there's bad people out there. I've dealt with a lot of them. I know, you don't have to convince me in the comments. I know there are bad people out there that you should protect yourself from. But then honestly, it actually makes me sad if you're a lonely 22-year-old that feels like you have no friends and you're listening to this advice, because actually the way that you stop feeling lonely isn't to isolate yourself more and tell yourself, oh, it's because I'm in a small town. You don't have the skill of learning how to be vulnerable without overthinking it. You become less lonely by opening up Please trust me on this, because I've literally been this person. You don't become less lonely or make more friends by like just throwing yourself into a bunch of different social groups and different sports and different events, because I did that. And I thought like, oh, if I go to netball, or if I go to this baking club, if I go to this feminist society thing, if I go to this, if I go to that, then I'll meet more people. But that's actually not the way, because you do need the skill of learning how to talk to new people, or learning how to like have a conversation, learning how to be a good listener, but also a good talker. Because chances are, if you're a lonely person that's very introverted, you already are a good listener. I'm quite confident. In a conversation, you probably are talking 20% of the time and they're talking 80% of the time. But actually, to feel a lot less lonely, it is about vulnerability, which I know is the scariest thing ever. But you'd be surprised, there are very small things which are vulnerable, which you don't even realize are being vulnerable. Like you being vulnerable is someone asking like, oh, how is your day going? And not automatically saying like, fine, my day's fine. But actually you being vulnerable is saying like, oh yeah, it's been actually such a long day. I'm so exhausted and I can't wait to go home. That's you being vulnerable. That's being honest. Or you being vulnerable is someone when they ask like what your weekend plans are, you're not going to lie and be like, oh, I'm so busy. You know, I'm going to see friends. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. You being vulnerable is you actually being honest and being like, oh, I'm actually not doing anything. I'm just going to sit in my room. That's you being vulnerable. And this is a pattern I know a lot of young people struggle with, because I feel like our society is quite judgmental nowadays. Like if you're sat on your own in a corner and you look like a loner, like you know people are going to be thinking things about you and saying weird comments. So you don't want to give people any more ammunition to judge you. But trust me, the way that you stop feeling lonely isn't to throw yourself into more events. It's actually just to be a bit more honest and vulnerable with the people already in your life. If you're enjoying this video and want to see more of me and more of like-minded people who also watch and enjoy these videos, then please sign up to my community waitlist in the description below. I'm really thinking of building something where we can all kind of like talk and hang out and like have a space. I've not started making it yet, but I definitely am going to soon. And I need to get a place where everyone's all in one place. So if you'd love to be part of a like-minded community of people struggling with all the same things that maybe you are too, then definitely join my waitlist in the link in the description. The last toxic pattern that a lot of young people struggle with is a fear of love and a fear of relationships. This manifests in so many different ways. There's a cohort of young people, even older people, where actually they're scared of relationships, and that shows up as like a fear of commitment. They kind of want the benefits of a relationship, but they don't want the labels and they don't want the romance. Or for some people, this shows up as their fear of relationships makes them double down on work. They're super busy, they're super productive, maybe even very successful. Their typical excuse is, oh, I'm focusing on my career right now. Like, oh, I'm trying to get that promotion. Once I get that promotion, then I'll start dating. They tell you they've got their love life on the back burner whilst they focus on something else, but really their love life will always be on the back burner because they've kind of got a fear of relationships. For other people, their excuse is, oh, but I love my own company. This is literally what I say like now. I always say like, oh, I love my own company. Like I'm just enjoying like seeing my friends. I love just having my weekends to myself, to hang out, see friends, like to do my own thing. Like I want my own space. But when I was thinking about it and like planning this video, I was like, is that like, do I really just love my own space? Which I do. Or am I like, I don't really like want to go out of my comfort zone and meet new people and start all over again on the dating apps. But a lot of us, I think, can acknowledge how difficult dating is, but we don't want to embrace that difficulty. We're kind of saying like, oh, it shouldn't be difficult. Like there should be an easier way. I should just be able to meet people in real life. It shouldn't be this hard. Dating apps are a mess. And a lot of us don't even want to get involved for valid reason. I'm literally not on any of the dating apps for this exact reason. It feels like a lot of us are dating like kind of like apprehensively. Like you don't want to say too much, but you want to say enough for them to get to know you. If I say too much, is that a red flag? Like what if he reads too much into what I've said? And ultimately, I think a lot of us kind of are fed up with what dating has become rather than what dating should be. And I think a lot of us are giving up on the sense that if this is what it is now, I kind of am over it. Like I don't even want to get involved. I'll just have my cats and be on my own. Hopefully in the next few years, the landscape of dating culture, whether it's apps or through something else, will shift a little bit where we don't feel afraid and apprehensive to just be honest about what we want or what we've been through without the fear of someone judging us or critiquing us for any tiny little red flag. Because that's the thing as well. I feel like everything's an ick. Sometimes dating can feel like you're walking on eggshells, which just makes it like not even worth your time. It just feels exhausting. If you made it this far into the video, let me know in the comments what's something you hope you have figured out in the next few years. Maybe by the time you're 30, or maybe before, or maybe after. And if you enjoyed this video, you might enjoy my 7 signs you're more confident than you think video, where I essentially went into some of the deeper, more subtle signs that you have like extreme confidence. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.